Few people know this, but before leaving this world, Padre Pio revealed a secret that stayed hidden for decades. Something that even today, very few within the Church have the courage to speak about openly. And no, it's not some theory, rumor, or superstition. We're talking about a serious spiritual revelation, deeply connected to faith, prayer, and the very teachings of Jesus Christ. A secret that touches not only spirituality but also parts of life many wouldn't imagine religion could reach, like financial prosperity, abundance, and even protection against invisible forces silently working to block your life. That's why, in this message, I want to bring you a powerful spiritual alert many are unaware of. Padre Pio taught that there is a simple act, putting this in your shoe, that can shield you from poverty, debts, and the bad luck many carry unknowingly. To strengthen your faith and invite heaven's blessings over your finances and family life, write in the comments, "Lord, bless my path and my financial life." A gesture of faith that itself is a powerful prayer for liberation. Now, pay close attention, because I'm about to reveal how Padre Pio's teaching can transform your life. What's most intriguing is that this secret was never revealed publicly, never preached in a sermon, never announced in a service, nor written in any apocryphal gospel. It was entrusted to a small group of devoted followers in Padre Pio's final years. And almost miraculously, this knowledge has surfaced today, at a time when humanity most needs a spiritual awakening. Look around. How many people are suffocated by debt, living in scarcity, fighting daily against what seems like endless bad luck? And don't think for a moment that this is coincidence. What Padre Pio revealed is deeply tied to the spiritual world few can see. There is an invisible battle happening every day. And those who don't understand how God's spiritual laws work, many of them found in the Bible but forgotten by most, end up living far from the abundance the Lord wants to pour out. That's exactly why this revelation is coming to light now, because maybe, just maybe, it has reached you for a far greater reason than you imagine. And when you discover what's blocking your finances, your prosperity, and even your peace, everything will start to make sense. The truth is harsh, but it must be told. There is indeed an invisible force working silently to keep many trapped in scarcity, poverty, and debt. And if you think this is just poor money management or bad luck, I'm sorry to say, you've been deceived. This financial bondage is far more spiritual than you realize. And it's no accident that banks, elites, and those controlling the system don't want you to find out. After all, a people spiritually freed become financially free as well. And that's extremely dangerous to those who profit from your ignorance, your lack of faith, and your dependence. If you stop and look closely, you'll see the same families have controlled the world's money for generations. And don't think it's just economic strategy, there's spiritual manipulation at work. The Bible warns about this when it talks about principalities and powers, forces operating in the invisible world, trying to divert people from God's paths, prayer, the gospel, and even the true prosperity that comes from faith and communion with Jesus Christ. These forces don't just want your soul away from God, they want your entire life blocked, including your wallet. And maybe you never noticed, but how many times has your financial life collapsed just after you got closer to God, church, Bible study, or worship? Seems like coincidence, doesn't it? But it's not. These are spiritual blockages created to make you give up, to pull you away from God's presence and the transformation He wants to bring to every area of your life. That's precisely why Padre Pio revealed that secret, because there is indeed a devotional, spiritual, and Christian way to break these chains. And believe me, when you understand this, you'll see that it's not just your finances that change, it's your whole life. And if you think this is just theory, get ready. Because when this secret was revealed, testimonies started to pour in, almost unbelievably. Mrs. Cecilia, a 67-year-old widow, had struggled for years to pay rent on her insufficient pension, with bills piling up. She decided, by faith, to apply the method Padre Pio revealed. And do you know what happened? 3 weeks later, she got an unexpected call. An inheritance she didn't even know she had was released to her. Coincidence? Those who have faith and know the power of prayer and spirituality know there's no such thing as coincidence in God's plan. And she wasn't alone. There was also Mr. Roberto, a businessman on the verge of bankruptcy. He says that despite going to church, studying the Bible, and attending services, his finances kept falling apart for no logical reason. Then, suspicious but faithful, he decided to try the ritual taught by Padre Pio. And, believe it or not, in less than 30 days, he closed a deal that had been stuck for over a year. He said himself, "There's no way not to believe. This is God's work." And truly, it's impossible to separate faith, prayer, and prosperity when you understand the spiritual laws. And here's what's most curious. All these testimonies share something in common. None of these people only changed their financial situation. No. What truly changed was their level of faith, their communion with Jesus Christ, their connection with spirituality, the Bible, the church, and the gospel. They began to understand that prosperity isn't just about money, but about living a life aligned with divine principles. And the more they practiced this devotional method, the more they realized it wasn't magic or superstition. It was faith put into practice, within God's will. And now, you're about to understand exactly how this ritual works and how to protect your spiritual life while attracting blessings to your home and family. Padre Pio had a very particular habit that few people knew about. Every day, upon waking, before having coffee or speaking to anyone, he performed a simple spiritual ritual, but one filled with great power. It was an act of protection, faith, and consecration. He believed that just as we care for our physical body, we also need to care for our spirit first thing in the morning. After all, anyone who leaves home without prayer, without connecting to God, starts the day vulnerable. Vulnerable to the enemy's traps, to invisible arrows, to envy and jealousy, and yes, even to the blockages that can affect our finances, health, and relationships. Here's something few people know. This ritual involved nothing extravagant. No charms or practices outside Christian faith. It was truly a moment of deep prayer, full surrender to Jesus Christ, reading specific Bible passages, and a spiritual declaration of protection. He believed, and rightly so, that true prosperity grows from a daily covenant with God. And what's interesting is that this ritual is not only about attracting prosperity, it's also about shielding your home, your family, your business, even your workplace, from any negative energy trying to steal your peace. And don't think this is something from the past. Even today, spiritual leaders, pastors, priests, and many young Christians awakening to an active faith life embrace devotional practices first thing in the morning. You know the saying, start your day at the Lord's feet, and nothing will knock you down. For those busy lives, just 5 minutes to offer a prayer of surrender, read a psalm, like Psalm 23 or 91, and dedicate the day into God's hands is enough. This simple habit, when it becomes part of your spirituality, starts opening doors, breaking invisible chains, and attracting blessings you never thought possible. And believe me, this connects directly to something even more specific and surprising that Padre Pio revealed about the feet themselves. It might sound strange if you've never heard about it, but since biblical times, feet have held a fundamental role in spirituality. Yes, exactly what you heard. And it's not just symbolic. The Bible itself has passages about this. For example, when God told Joshua, "Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you," Joshua 1 verse 3. This isn't just poetic, it's a spiritual key. Feet represent authority, paths, direction, conquest. Spiritually, they are the connection points between heaven and earth. That's why in many ancient Christian traditions, and also in the spirituality taught by Padre Pio, there is special attention given to the feet. Think about it. It's through your feet that you walk, enter, and leave places, claim territories, and take your stand in life. If your feet are spiritually protected and consecrated, so are your paths. It's no coincidence that Jesus washed the disciples' feet. That was not just an act of humility, but a spiritual purification of the paths they would walk in spreading the gospel. This carries deep weight in faith, prayer, worship, praise, devotion, and the entire spiritual life. Padre Pio used to say that often the root of the blockages a person faces lies in their spiritual paths contaminated by envy, evil eye, curses, negative words, or wrong choices made over time. And this doesn't only affect the spiritual life. It impacts finances, emotions, professional life, even health. That's why he taught a simple, practical, devotional method deeply rooted in Christian teachings, something you can start today, literally beginning with your own feet. And that's exactly what you're about to discover now. Here we reach a point many don't even imagine exists, something Padre Pio shared in his most private moments, only with those who had true faith and commitment to God. It's a method so simple it's almost surprising. And do you know what it is? A small but powerful devotional gesture, placing 3 consecrated bay leaves inside the right shoe. That's right, a simple act that, when done with faith, prayer, and aligned with gospel principles, becomes a true spiritual shield and a magnet for financial blessings and prosperity. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, no, this has absolutely nothing to do with superstition or anything outside Christian faith. On the contrary, this gesture is grounded in biblical symbolism, Christian spirituality, and the tradition of the saints. Bay leaves have long represented victory, conquest, and overcoming. They were used to crown champions and spiritually symbolize the triumph of light over darkness. And here's the most interesting part. When you put these leaves in your right shoe, the one symbolizing the path, action, and forward movement, you're, in essence, declaring that your steps are blessed, protected, and guided by God's hand. Don't underestimate the power of this simple act. There are countless testimonies, from young Christians, family people, simple folks, and business owners, who have seen their lives transformed after applying this teaching. It's not just money coming in. It's debts being paid, doors opening, stuck deals being unlocked, even family relationships being restored. It's the power of prayer, praise, worship, and faith in Jesus Christ manifesting in the lives of those who believe. And of course, for this to work, there's one essential step Padre Pio always emphasized: the proper consecration of the bay leaves. And that's exactly what you're about to understand next. Here lies the real secret that separates those who see results from those who don't. Padre Pio always said it's not about the object itself, but about the faith, prayer, and intention with which you perform it. Consecrating the bay leaves is not just any ritual. It's an act of deep faith and total surrender to God. Before placing the leaves in your shoe, it's essential to say a specific prayer, dedicating each leaf to the Holy Spirit, asking Jesus Christ to bless your steps, open your paths, and break every evil through the power of the cross. The process is simple, but it must be done with seriousness, devotion, and focus. First, take 3 bay leaves, fresh or dried. Hold them in your hands, close your eyes, and with your heart turned toward heaven, offer a heartfelt prayer. The Bible is clear when it says, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believing, you will receive," Matthew 21 verse 22. So speak words of life, prosperity, and freedom over your home, your family, and your plans. You might even open your Bible and read a protective psalm, like Psalm 91, or one about prosperity, like Psalm 23. But don't just repeat words. Put your heart into it. Pray as if you are talking to God, as if you are pleading for real change. Ask in Jesus Christ's name that every financial curse, every work of the enemy, every evil eye, every envy, every spiritual blockage fall to the ground. When you finish, hold the leaves with both hands, bring them to your chest, and say, "Lord, bless my steps. May my paths be bright, prosperous, and protected. Wherever I walk, may there be peace, abundance, and grace." Only after this will you be ready to take the next step in this powerful spiritual cycle. Now that the leaves are properly dedicated, a spiritual journey begins that lasts exactly 21 days. And do you know why? Because spiritually, this number symbolizes transformation, freedom, and renewal. The prophet Daniel fasted and prayed for 21 days before receiving his answer, Daniel 10 verses 2-3. This cycle isn't just a time of prayer but a period of spiritual realignment, where your faith, mind, and energy begin to tune in with the principles of the gospel, abundance, and God's will. During these 21 days, it's crucial to keep a daily prayer routine. This isn't just about putting the leaves in your shoe and forgetting. It means waking every day, saying your devotional prayer, reading a Bible passage, whether a psalm, a proverb, or a gospel passage, and declaring over your life, "My steps are blessed. Prosperity follows me. Lack is not part of my life, in Jesus Christ's name." And it doesn't have to be complicated. The key is consistency, done with faith, like a genuine personal worship throughout your day. And there's more. If during these 21 days you start to notice doors opening, small blessings happening, don't ignore it. That's a sign the spiritual process is working. And if you feel deeper blockages remain, because sometimes they're old, deeply rooted, even passed down through generations, Padre Pio taught that you can and should restart the cycle with the same dedication, the same faith, until all chains are broken. After all, those who live a devotional life grounded in prayer, faith, Christian spirituality, and the gospel know that persistence in God's presence creates testimonies of faith that the whole world can't explain. Speaking of testimonies, real stories of transformation remind us that faith is not distant from everyday life. Quite the opposite. Many people, when they faithfully practice the bay leaf method with prayer, have experienced nearly inexplicable events. Debt agreements that seemed impossible began to be negotiated easily, long-awaited inheritances fell into their laps, and financial opportunities appeared out of nowhere. These stories are not chance. They are the power of prayer, genuine spirituality, and the gospel working in the lives of those who believe. For example, there's Mrs. Maria, a 67-year-old woman who, after years of struggling with debt, decided to try the method with faith and daily prayer. In less than a month, an old debt was forgiven by a generous creditor, and a new income source appeared without any expectation. Or Paulo, a businessman going through a tough time, who renewed his spirituality, put the consecrated leaves in his shoe, and devoted himself to Bible study and prayer. The result? Contracts signed with important clients, financial stability, and a new outlook on the role of faith in everyday life. These faith testimonies show us that true spirituality and Christianity go hand in hand with practical action. Nothing happens without real involvement, sincere prayer, and an attitude aligned with Jesus Christ's teachings. The Church has always emphasized that prosperity is not just material, but a blessing that covers all areas of life, from praise and worship to victory over financial challenges. Those who use this method understand they are not alone. A true spiritual protection follows every step, shielding against negative energies trying to sabotage the path. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. In the world of spirituality and Christianity, it's no secret that beyond visible battles, there are invisible ones fought against negative forces trying to tear down our faith and prosperity. Padre Pio knew this well and taught that envy and the so-called evil eye are traps set by the enemy, meant to block the path to abundance and sow discord in the hearts of young Christians and all believers. This invisible force acts quietly, trying to undermine not only finances but the very spirituality, praise, and worship that strengthen the soul. The bay leaf method, besides attracting prosperity, also serves as a protective shield. By consecrating the leaves with prayer and faith, and keeping them close to the feet, which symbolize our direct connection to the earth and our roots, you create an energy field that repels these negative influences. It's like putting on spiritual armor that protects you during the daily worship of life, preventing envious people or bad energies from stealing your peace and praise. This simple ritual connects deeply with the spiritual laws taught in the Bible, which always warn us about the importance of vigilance and constant prayer to maintain communion with God. That's why protection must always be paired with a deep devotional life, steady prayer, studying the Bible, active participation in church, and a heart open to living the gospel in everyday life. Rituals alone aren't enough. You have to nurture your spirit with genuine praise and worship. Jesus taught us that true faith shows itself through action and communion with the Holy Spirit. This union strengthens your defense against any traps the enemy might set, readying you to take the next step on your journey of faith and prosperity. When we talk about prosperity and financial struggles, it's easy to focus only on practical matters. But there's a profound spiritual dimension many overlook. Padre Pio taught that poverty is not God's plan, nor a punishment. It's a distortion caused by negative spiritual forces working against faith and God's grace. The Bible makes it clear that God desires abundance for His children. I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly. John 10 verse 10. Understanding this connection is key to breaking down invisible barriers that block your path. Spiritual laws are like universal principles guiding our life and faith. Prayer, devotion, and Bible study align our soul with these laws. Take the principle of sowing and reaping from the gospel. What we sow in prayer and action returns to us multiplied, whether in church, worship, or daily life. Ignoring this is like trying to sail without a compass, lacking divine guidance and protection. Padre Pio often emphasized that true Christianity leads us to a balanced life, where spiritual and material prosperity naturally follow active faith. By embracing these principles, a young Christian frees themselves from the enemy's traps that create cycles of lack. They realize spirituality isn't just ritual. It's a powerful force to transform reality, open doors, and inspire faith testimonies that impact not only their own life but their entire community. This journey calls for commitment to the gospel, constant prayer, and, of course, concrete actions that prove our faith in Jesus Christ. Speaking of alignment, the next step is essential to ensure prosperity is used rightly. At the heart of Christian faith lies a deep teaching about true wealth. It's not just material, but a blessing to be used for good, serving others, and glorifying Jesus Christ. Padre Pio always stressed that prosperity without purpose becomes empty. So, it's vital to align our financial gains with God's will, that which promotes love, solidarity, and spiritual growth. The Bible reinforces this by inviting us to love your neighbor as yourself, and to manage the gifts we receive with wisdom and gratitude. With this understanding, a Christian knows that true worship goes beyond songs in the temple. It's living the gospel daily through acts of charity, honesty, and humility. For example, using part of your prosperity to help young believers in need, participating in church outreach, or volunteering time for Bible studies that strengthen the community's faith. This practice shows spirituality is not disconnected from everyday life. It's a path to transform the world around us, sustained by prayer and faithful testimony. This understanding makes all the difference when facing challenges. Prayer stops being a mere request and becomes an active commitment to God's plan for our lives. Prosperity then becomes an extension of divine love, a light spreading blessings to family, church, and everyone we meet. So we walk in faith, guided by the gospel and strengthened by true spirituality, ready for the next step, which involves respect and care for what was used in the ritual. After completing the 21-day bay leaf method, comes a delicate but vital moment, disposal, which must be done with reverence and spirituality. Padre Pio taught that anything consecrated and used for faith must return to the earth in a sacred way, avoiding negative energy or disrespect. The recommendation is to burn the used leaves and bury the ashes in a clean place, preferably a garden or near trees, as a symbolic act of surrender and spiritual renewal. This ritual is more than symbolic. It's essential to close the cycle with faith and reverence. Burning the leaves literally transforms the energy built up during the process into something pure, releasing blessings and making room for the new. Burying the ashes reconnects with the earth, the same vital energy that sustained the ritual from the start, and reinforces commitment to spirituality and God's divine order governing life and prosperity. It's like planting an invisible seed that will keep bearing fruit. Performing this disposal mindfully is an act of worship, recognizing nothing happens by chance and every action has a spiritual response. Faith, prayer, and devotion remain the guiding thread throughout, and this final practice honors the cycle, preparing the heart for new blessings and Bible study seasons. Of course, this surrender does not replace practical action, which is the next essential point to understand. Padre Pio always emphasized that prayer, devotion, and spirituality must be paired with concrete action. We can't just wait for blessings to fall from the sky. True transformation happens when faith shows itself in daily habits, dedication to Bible study, active church involvement, and living out faith openly. Christianity calls us to be light in the darkness, a living example of the gospel in motion. True faith is the kind that moves us to act, whether it's at work, caring for family, or helping those in need. Many young Christians get discouraged because they expect immediate results, but Padre Pio taught that patience and perseverance are virtues that walk hand in hand with constant prayer and praise. Take a practical example. Those who use the bay leaf method can also pursue professional training, organize their finances, and keep a daily prayer routine, all aligned with their spirituality so the miracle can unfold in real, tangible ways. This blend of faith and action strengthens the inner worship, the true devotion that goes beyond the church walls and touches every moment of life. In this way, spirituality becomes the engine that moves circumstances, opening doors that seemed closed and creating opportunities only those with a living, active faith can see. This dynamic prepares the ground for the final step, sharing this knowledge with those who need it most. One of Padre Pio's most powerful teachings is the importance of sharing the knowledge that transforms. After all, faith is a flame that grows brighter when passed along. When someone finds a spiritual method that frees them from debt, poverty, and bad luck, like this bay leaf practice, there's a call not to keep that blessing to themselves, but to be a light for the whole community, the church, and young believers facing their own struggles. Sharing this teaching is not just an act of generosity, it's a true act of worship and service. Faith testimonies show how this simple practice, when shared, has sparked financial miracles, unexpected opportunities, and spiritual strength in many families. It creates a multiplying effect of praise and worship that echoes throughout the gospel lived in action. Plus, sharing strengthens one's own testimony, making it more alive and contagious, inviting others to dive deeper into Bible study and prayer. This is the moment to act, not only for yourself but for the greater good. It's an invitation for every Christian to become a channel of blessing, helping break down the invisible forces blocking prosperity in many lives. Spirituality doesn't end with individual prayer. It expands in the collective, in communion, in a church united in faith and action. And so, the wheel of divine grace keeps turning, opening space for a new beginning filled with hope and renewal.